Letter 7. Türkiyem. Dear Lady Mary, on the face of a mountain outside of Erzurum, there is a huge sign composed of painted white rocks forming individual letters. Maintained with loving care by army recruits, it can be seen from miles away. It reads of only one word: Türkiyem, my Turkey. Such a simple phrase to express pride in one's homeland. Nothing more needs to be said, as every citizen can interpret their own meaning of the word. As I gazed upon it, I realized that it had significance for me, for I have constructed my own personal concept of the country. My Turkey is not the one that is known by 99% of visitors to Turkey, and I would say 95% of Turks. It is not the Turkey of the sophisticated, wealthy, and urbane cities of Istanbul, Antalya, Bursa, or Ankara. No, it is the Turkey of the Anatolian plains. My heart lives east of Ankara. You, like most tourists, traveled in the inclusive, multinational, cosmopolitan, and heterogeneous world of Constantinople and Adrianople, now known as Edirne. You state in a letter written in Edirne that the manners of mankind do not differ so widely as our voyage writers would make us believe. Yet you did not venture forth much from that cosmopolitan and wealthy realm to know the difference, or to discover the rural population surrounding these cities. How I believe you would have enjoyed it had you done so. Most tourists know Turkey only from Istanbul and the southern beaches. But my Turkey is different. It is the Turkey of a life lived on the land, of a life lived by sweat and hard work, the one of dry plateaus, not lush seaside beaches. It is easy to be seduced by Istanbul, pearl of the world, city of man's desiring. But I fell in love with empty plains. To me, much like the fields of my Midwest, they prove the eternal power displayed in nature and the hope of man to push farther and harder. Most people see these plains as bleak and monotonous, but I find them open, free, endless like the sea, and full of mirages. When I first went to Turkey, few foreigners traveled to these regions. Now everyone is dashing off to Istanbul for 36 hours, a weekend here and there. Foreigners have invaded its market spaces and are working and living the expat life to its fullest. They are mostly in Istanbul, which, if truth be told, is as sophisticated an urban center as Paris or New York. I have always thought Istanbul to be a cross between New York, Algiers, and Venice. But whatever individuality it takes, it is still a very urbane place. Not so for Türkiyem, my Turkey. I love traveling to small towns where there are local markets and few restaurants or tea houses. I believe that when Americans hear the word Turkey, they think of it as being very mysterious and exotic, and can mention only two cities, Istanbul and Ankara. You would be surprised at how little those two cities really represent the country, just as I would never associate the America I grew up in with New York or Boston. The countryside outside the major urban centers is a whole other country. People are curious as to why I always choose stucco villages, dusty and brown plains over the mountains, the sea or the turquoise waters of the Caribbean, the Riviera, or even southern Turkey. Perhaps I am a bit odd, but the wealth of experience I see out there is unbounded. My Turkey is a place where there are festivals of every kind and imagination. Besides the numerous prestigious cultural arts festivals held in many cities, the Golden Orange Film Festival of Antalya, for example, there are numerous festivals that honor local folklore and heroes. Nasruddin Oka, Yunus Emre, Hacı Bektaş, or celebrate local produce and particularities such as camel wrestling in Seljuk and Denizli, pelicans in Biricik, power gum candy in Manisa, Jiret, a type of rugby-style polo in Konya and Erzurum, snakes in Mardin, roses in Konya, cherries in Tekirdağ and Isparta, grease wrestling in Edirne, strawberries in Bartın, tea in Rize, apricots in Malatya, tomatoes in Tokat, hazelnuts in Urdu, honey in Chankiri, master chefs in Magen, ceramics in Kütahya, grape harvesting in Cappadocia, watermelons in Diyarbakir, last year's champion weighing in at 98 pounds, bullfighting in Artvin, figs in Germenchik, coal in Zonguldak, and whirling dervishes in Konya. These festivities can compete with the Ohio State Fair any day. In my Turkey, neither sea, spas, chic clubs, beautiful bikinied people, discotheques, nor ski slopes await me. The lure is the other. It is one of wooden houses, mountain meadows, votive ribbons tied on trees, bubbling roadside water fountains, of troubadours and dervishes, humpbacked bridges, cisterns, woods, running rivers, saz players, singing birds, pilav days, and circumcision celebrations. Windows and porches full of flowers planted in empty olive cans, clock towers, restaurants with private rooms for women customers, tea gardens under pergolas of strung vines, women in fields tossing grain or sorting apricots or onions, timbered houses, lush green valleys, washed kaleems set out to dry, lace curtains, headscarved women, carved stone portals, low voices, windows shaded by pierced wooden shutters, fawn plains, jumbles of tiled roofs, walled gardens scrambling up hillsides, village buses filled with kids, animals, bags of potatoes, spare tires or machinery parts, harsh salty lakes in the middle of dry plains, meat grilled over vines and bay leaves, a lonely worker walking on the edge of the road with his bag of supplies in his hand, carved and painted wood ceilings, horse carts, hot springs, caves, farm workers bouncing in the back of trucks on the way to the fields, boys and girls droning recitations of the Koran to fix them to memory, waterfalls, loud drums announcing circumcision or wedding feasts, reed marshes, tractors and donkey carts, fields of watermelons and tomatoes, cities crowned with castles and fortresses, themselves topped with fluttering crescent flags. Silences so thick one can touch them, buzzing flies, rainbows of bright-colored kilims on mosque floors, old men with canes walking to the village square to meet their friends, the wild and angry nature of moving tectonic plates, sidewalks littered with sunflower shells, the red-hot burning soil of the southeast, tragic family events and gentle weddings, low brushwood and yellow dust, scurrying inter-village jitney vans, roaring rapids, endless visual feasts at the bend of mountain roads, sheep shorn or slit, snow falling so hard and fast that it blocks roads within the space of a few hours, dervishes and elevis, men spending hours drawing verses from the Koran in swirling calligraphy, half-timbered Ottoman houses, cobbled streets trod by Hittites, Persians, Greeks, Romans, Persians, Seljuks, and Ottomans, and Ataturk's patriots, golden plains running off the horizon of the world, hot springs, earthquake tremors, history peering at me from every stone, bustling weekly marketplaces, snow-covered mountain peaks, candy and nut shops, dense fir forests and mountain passes, conical tomb towers filled with green-shrouded cenotaphs, open vegetable markets, covered bazaars, back streets filled with woodworkers, tinsmiths, saddlemakers, and tinkerers, Congal shepherd dogs, the color of the plains, chasing dusty sheep, bird sanctuaries filled with pink flamingos, heat-warped horizons, bleating herds of fat-tailed sheep, diving swift swallows, deserted ruins, views of sparkling blue lakes from the crest of the road, women observing the street from their perch in deep-set window frames, Cemeteries filled with tipped-over ancient tombstones, scrubby plains, and semi-arid chaparral. Chattering Kurdish women dressed in giddy wildflower colors. Meadows where horses and their colts run wild. Rose bushes everywhere in bloom. Fresh white mulberries. The smell of blood, fresh bread, dust, manure, and watermelon rinds. Houses of wood and stone and mud brick. Close-hewn hills of green, black tents and white sheep. Nomads and shopkeepers. Low-leveled steps that run forever off to a ridge of hills. Houses with floors of tamped earth. Flocks of waddling geese or sheep blocking the roads. A sky that comes right down to the earth. The yellowed, coarse paper of small press books. Fresh apricot juice. Climbs up mountain passes. And the 360 views over the quilt of green and fawn patchwork plains below. The smell of dung fires. Water sipped from a cup straight from a bubbling spring by the side of the road. Full moons twice as large and bright as in the rest of the world. Towels set out to dry in front of barber shops. Caparisoned horses with fine tapestry weavings and blue beads. Ancient bridges and fallen column capitals, mysterious caves and traces of civilizations gone millennia ago. A high-decibel nature with loudly sounding frogs, insects, birds, and flowing water. Hard-working farmers. Brown fields lit up by yellow sunflowers and yellow melons. Dust devils. Towns with one street lined with a string of 800-year-old structures and modern concrete apartment blocks. One-room schools, grain elevators, and agricultural co-ops. And plains so vast they can't fit into a wide-angle camera lens or even into my own eyes. Such is my Turkey, the one I have come to love so, the one far from sophisticated and elite Istanbul. How could blazing beaches and discotheques filled with foreigners match the thrill of any of this? Ah, Lady Mary, if only I could have been your guide to my Turkey. I am sure you would have come to love it as much as I do. Sincerely, Catherine Branning.